Welcome to Halacha in a Year, where we can get to learn all the most relevant halacha through the prism of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. You are listening to Rabbi Ya'akov Trump. This year is kindly sponsored by the Moshe Group and CA in zechus of Rivka Biela, bas נחמה שיפרה, and in honor of Rabbi Trump. Today we're going to be learning the halachas of Rosh, Chodesh, and Kiddush, Levana. This is Siman Tzadi Zayin, the 97th section in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. We're looking at those two basic concepts, Rosh Chodesh and Kiddush Levana. Now, technically speaking, these don't go together in the Shulchan Aruch itself, but the Kitzur is putting them together because, generally speaking, on Motzei Shabbos is when we say Kiddush Levana, and then we're putting Rosh Chodesh with it as well, just in a way that's practically connected. Let's look at the halachas of Rosh Chodesh. They're pretty simple. There's only a few questions over here. Let's jump straight in. Are there any special practices on Erev Rosh Chodesh? So some communities are accustomed to fast and recite the Seder Yom Kippur Katan, which is done on an Erev Rosh Chodesh. If it's on a Shabbos, then it goes back to a Thursday. Even those who usually don't fast, they try to do Erev Rosh Chodesh Elul and Erev Rosh Hashanah. They try to fast as well, or at least half a day of fasting as well. Why is there this custom? That's because Rosh Chodesh serves as a time of Zman Kapara L'Kol Todosam, and that atones for the sins of the previous month. And therefore, as a function of that, we try to do a fast to sort of like capstone that month and the atonement for anything which may have been done then. Should all communities do this fast? So every community should follow its own minhag. Some have the minhag to fast. Every day should fast. Some don't have the minhag, and therefore the community does not need to opt in as well. Is there a mitzvah to have a special meal on Rosh Chodesh? The answer is yes. There is a mitzvah to have a festive meal, a seudah, on Rosh Chodesh. What if Rosh Chodesh falls on a Shabbos? So then one should have an additional dish, which is beyond what one would have on a regular Shabbos because it is Rosh Chodesh. It should be extra special. What happens if it was Shabbos and one forgot to have an extra dish? So one should have an extra special, lavish melava malka in honor of the Rosh Chodesh, which just passed. Is melacha, any work allowed to do on Rosh Chodesh? Melacha is technically permitted, but women are customarily refrained from doing melacha on Rosh Chodesh. Why is this? Because this is a reward because they were not involved in the chet ha'egel, the sin of the golden calf. They did not get involved in putting out their jewelry for this sin. What does it look like practically? So different families or different communities have different practices as to what women refrain from on Rosh Chodesh, and they should follow that. However, generally speaking, a woman should have a number of things that she does not do on Rosh Chodesh that's special for her as well, which means if that means that some other member of the family needs to supplement to make that possible, they should be supplementing, and that should be the practice within that family. What is the extra davening on Rosh Chodesh? So we add in Ya'aleh v'Yavo in 3 Shemona Esreis. We add in Halel at Shachris, Kriyas HaTorah. There's a Musaf, and then at the end we add in Baruch Hinashi into our davenings. How should Halel be recited in Rosh Chodesh? Halel is recited half Halel, which means we leave out the second half of 2 paragraphs in the Halel, and it is also recited standing without interruption. What if someone arrives to the shul while the congregation is just starting to do Halal and they haven't done Shemona Esrei yet? So Halal, it's important to say Halal with the community, and therefore they should even recite the Halal before they daven their Shemona Esrei. What if one is in the middle of Pesukei Zimra and one is catching up and then they start doing Halal? So it says in the Kitzur, an amazing halacha. One should recite Halal with the community and to be able to do it with them, but one does not say the bracha before and afterwards because the Baruch Shahar and Yishtava count as the brachas before and after Halal. So it's like enhancing, uplifting one's Pesukei Zimra with the Halal that the community is doing at that very moment. Is this kind of thing allowed all the time? The answer is only on Rosh Chodesh or Chol HaMoed, on the last days of Pesach, when only half Halal is said. When it's the full Halal, one is not allowed to do this in the middle of Pesukei Zimra. If someone is reciting Halal by themselves or in a smaller group, is there anything they do together? The answer is yes. When it comes to Hoidu, then if there's one or two other people who are there, one person should say, the other people should respond because it's meant to be said responsively. What happens after Halal in Shul? So one says a full Kiddush, which is therefore including the Shemona Esrei and the Halal together as part of their Tefillah, and then the Torah is brought out and 4 Aliyahs are said. It is interesting to note that of the 4 aliyahs which are said, you're not allowed to start or end an aliyah within 3 psukim of a paragraph, and actually, because there's 5 psukim in the first paragraph, the way it's done is there's 3 psukim and 3 psukim, but the middle one is actually repeated. Most people are not aware of the fact that the first aliyahs share 1 pasuk, which is doubled up because of this rule as well. What else is different about Rosh Chodesh? So one is not allowed to fast or eulogize on Rosh Chodesh. Tziduk Adin is also not said, so it's a more abbreviated funeral when it's on a Rosh Chodesh as well. Can a hesped be given? So the halacha is only for a Torah sage. Otherwise, one should not be giving a hesped. Many people start off a eulogy and just say, it's Rosh Chodesh, so we shouldn't say anything but, and then they just launch into a eulogy. That's not appropriate. What should be done is that a person may say a Dvar Torah, which exemplifies the person, or may say a Pasuk in Tehillim and explain how it relates to the person, or talk about Divrei Shevach, praises of the person. But a regular eulogy talking about their life and the sads and the ups and the downs is not appropriate on Rosh Chodesh. Let's move into the second concept, and that is Kiddush Levana. Kiddush Levana. So what else does one do about the new moon? So one is obligated to be Chodesh Chodesh, which means to sanctify the new month at night when one sees the new moon. Why is this? So Gemara describes it's like a person is receiving the Shechina of Hashem, the divine presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, by acknowledging His appearance through the cycle of creation. One of the cycles that we witness all the time is the monthly cycle of the renewal of the moon. When is the proper time to say it? So I should really only say it after nightfall, when the moon's light is visible and can be used. It's almost casting a shadow on the ground. We live in such a light-polluted area in general in the cities that we live today, so we don't see it as much. But in the old days, it would be much clearer to be able to see the lights, the light of the moon. Can it be said when the moon is behind a cloud? So only if the cloud is very thin, the outline of the moon can be seen. If it becomes covered after the bracha was started, one may actually finish, but one should start the bracha being able to finish the bracha ostensibly. Maybe recited indoors or under a roof. The answer is preferably not. It should be outside under the open sky as one is receiving the Shekhinah of Hashem, but in extenuating circumstances it may be said through a window. Just hard to imagine what that is unless it's dangerously cold, because the one cannot be said if there's clouds, so inclement weather should not be a prevention. What is the ideal time to recite it? It should be done on a Motzei Shabbos because one's in a joyous mood and wearing one's nice clothes at that time. When during the month should it be recited? So the earliest time it could be said is after 3 days from the Moilad, from the time that the month renews in Yerushalayim. Some wait 7, like the Sfaradim do this. And the latest should be 14 days, 18 hours, and 22 minutes from the Moilad. So this will sometimes be on the 15th or sometimes the 14th of the month, depending on when the Moilad was. Should one wait for Motzei Shabbos if it is already past the 10th of the month? So let's say the first Motzei Shabbos was cloudy, the second Motzei Shabbos is coming, but it's going to be on the 11th of the month. The answer is no, one should therefore do it during the week, even if one's going to miss doing it with the community or on a Motzei Shabbos, because it might get too cloudy later and there's only 2 or 3 days left, so one should be careful about that. When is Kiddush Levana not said? So it's not said before Tisha B'Av, so one says it usually on Motzei Tisha B'Av. It's not said by mourners unless the Shiva will go past the 10-day period. And on a fast day, when one's fasting, one should not be saying it, except on the Motzei Yom Kippur, when one feels happy about the atonement of one's sins. Similarly, it cannot be said on a Friday night or a Yom Tov night unless it is the last night for Kiddush Levana to be said. May a blind person say Kiddush Levana? The answer is yes. Why? They can't see it. The answer is because it's not relating to seeing the moon. It's about acknowledging HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the cycles of nature of this world, and therefore even a blind person can say it. If one sees the moon before Ma'ariv, which takes priority, Ma'ariv or Kiddush Levana? So if it is getting cloudy and one is worried that one's not going to be able to say it, it's a rainy season, then one should say Kiddush Levana first. But if that's not a concern, and it's not near the end of the period of saying Kiddush Levana, one should say Ma'ariv first. Ma'ariv is tadir, it's more frequent, and it has Kriya Shema, which is a mitzvah d'oraisa. What if the moon appears during the Shema, and it's brachos, and it's been cloudy all day, and it's towards the end of the month, and it's only 2 days left? What should one do? So if there's no time, no time will be remain after the Shemona Esrei. One can even interrupt even in the middle of the brachos or in Shema, but ideally one should get to the section one is ending in. What if the moon appears on the night of the 14th of Adar, which is Purim, and one has not been able to say it up till then? So if it appears before the Megillah reading, one does Kiddush Levana first, then Megillah. If it appears during the Kriyas Megillah, if time will remain afterwards to be able to say it, one should continue reading and say it afterwards. If the time is short and one's worried that one won't get to do it, then the entire community should do it together. If they haven't done it, or just one individual, that one individual may not interrupt and should do the Kriyas Megillah first. This is a quick overview of some halachas of Rosh Chodesh and Kiddush Levana. With this, we close. Have a wonderful and meaningful day.